Hi Birdies! This is Crow, and today I'm going to be doing a free fanfiction review that would be free the anime, the swimming anime, not free for all to watch, which I guess it is anyways, but you know, whatever. But it's a free fanfiction review called Coral and Bone by Macbetha. I'm super excited to get into this one. It's a mermaid AU, and it's just phenomenal in a lot of ways. So, without further ado, let's jump in. So, like I already said, the title is Coral and Bone, and it is written by Macbetha. I was able to get into contact with Macbetha, and it was really cool getting to talk to her. She's awesome. She gave me some really great answers, and unfortunately I can't just read exactly what she wrote to me. I wish I could, but I don't have that kind of time to do that. But basically, this fanfiction was very therapeutic for her with losing her own grandparents, and she wrote this story while on the balcony at their house, which I think is really, really cool. And you can definitely see, having read what she wrote to me, you can definitely see her reflecting into the story through Makoto, which I thought was really cool, as well as a lot of different aspects of the story, which I'm going to get into a little bit later with the different mythology and things like that. So I'm really excited to get into that. So with all of that already done, let me go ahead and read the summary of the story. So the summary just reads, "It was supposed to be a nice little summer at his dad's. Makoto didn't expect to be swept up in ocean waves and sweet heat and chewed lips, nor did he expect to cherish the slightest upturn of someone's mouth or how they turn away to blush. And Makoto really, really wasn't expecting there to be mermaids. But then again, he also never thought he could fall in love in a single summer, so perhaps it's all just not what Makoto expected." And then her author note, the first thing it says, "And here we are, the Mermaid AU." And Macbetha did say that there are a lot of mermaid AUs with free, which if you're in the free fandom, you kind of know that already, just because of the way that Haru is with water, obviously. And she specifically mentioned the ending of the second season, which obviously he has a mermaid tail, so that kind of helps with that. So, to get in some of the quick semantics, the platform that is written on is AO3, and the rating is E for sexy times. I would say that it doesn't necessarily need an E rating for the violence, but there is some violence in here. The word count is at 133,000 words, so it's a good novel length. It does take a little bit of time to read, though totally worth it. It's one of those that I sat down and I read it in a couple of days. I specifically remember laying on my Mimi and Poppy's bed in the dark reading this story. I'm not sure why that immediately comes to mind, but I can just remember that. There aren't any sequels or additional works to go along with this story, though I do recommend Macbetha's other works, specifically Death of a Bachelor. I'll be reviewing that probably sometime in 2022, but it's so good. It's so good. The fandom, like I already said, is free. There are a lot of pairings for this one, though. Settle in for the ride. The main pairing is Makoto and Haru, and then we also have Solsuke and Rin, Natsuya and Nao, Rei and Nagisa, Asahi and Kisumi, Ni and Aki, who are lesbians. I don't know where they came from. Maybe I should have asked Macbetha about that. I don't know where they came from, but I love them. They're cute. I don't think they're OCs. I'm pretty sure they're in the free, like maybe in the light novels or something. I'm not sure, but I really like them. Makoshiba, Seijiro, and Go, as well as Ikuya and Hiyori. I always love multi-pairings in fanfictions, especially with bigger ones like this. I say bigger ones like this, it's usually sports anime. So, Haikyuu, Free, Kuroko no Basket. I also really enjoyed that Ikuya and Hiyori were added into this. I absolutely love their dynamic so much. Warnings, the only major warnings in the tag for you AO3 users is underage, because all of the characters are 17. That's really the only major thing with that. All of it's consensual and all of that, but all the characters are underage, so, you know, if that bothers you, don't read it. Minor warnings, I would just say there is some violence, there's some blood. It's action-y. It's not a horror anime or something like that, though. It is very, very well written. It is so captivating. Just reading it is something you can easily get sucked up into. You really feel like you're there. It just teleports you to this place on Iwatobi Beach at Trident's Point, which is their little marina. And it's so, I just love it. It really gives you a feeling of the area. It transports you to another place. The grammar is great. There's some typos, nothing to really write home about. The OCs are kind of wonky because they're OCs for the story, but they're basically gods and goddesses. There's a lot of Greek mythology in this, and I will get into that a little bit later after the spoilers tag. Are they in character or out of character? They're very in character. Of course, AU takes some liberties with that, but it is very well done, and I just absolutely love it. There's nothing in it that feels out of character for me. Okay, so now I'm putting the spoiler warning, so be warned. Obviously, warning, be warned. I feel like I'm just gonna end up rambling because I love so many things about this. My favorite parts. It's very romantic and sweet. With Makoto and Haruka's relationship, I absolutely adored the way it was written. Even the more explicit scenes were written in a way that it wasn't sexy as it was sensual, if that makes sense. You know, there's a difference between sex and lovemaking. You can really feel that difference just in the way that it was written. You know, it's a summer to fall in love. You get all that sweetness. There's magical bonding, soulmates, sirens can die of a broken heart, all of that. It's very romantic and sweet. If you really just love fluff and tooth-rotting sweetness, this is the story for you. Another thing that I absolutely love about this fanfiction is the lore in it. That'd be L-O-R-E, not L-U-R-E. I think my southern accent is making some changes to what I'm trying to say. Lore, not lure, lore. It is so well done. I actually got to talk to Macbetha about it, where she came up with some of the names, because in this particular story, the mermaids aren't called mermaids, really. They're called Derketo. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'll put the word up here somewhere. Derketo. And there are different species or subspecies of Derketo. I don't know all the species off the top of my head, but I'm going to put it like a quick list. Macbetha did specifically mention that even though she did incorporate a whole lot of Greek mythology into this story, the first kind of recordings or history that we have with mermaids is from India, and it was a woman who was half bird and half fish, and she was called Derketo. So she said that that's specifically where she got the name from, which I thought was so cool. I've never gotten that deep into the mythology of mermaids before. I usually just make up my own when I write about mermaids personally. But I thought that was really, really cool. There's a Babbit. Okay. And now I have a Babbit. You snuck in here. Say hello. This is the Babbit. She's back. Yeah. What? Doofus. Lay down, Babbit. If any of you have read my stories, you know that I am a sucker for elementals, and she specifically mentions that she wanted to bring elementals into the concepts of these different subspecies of Derketo. And that's also tied into the god or goddess that specific type of species of Derketo comes from. So like where Kisami's mom is Aphrodite and he is a siren, so really wanting to be loved and very affectionate, and I thought that was really, really cool. I don't want to call this a least favorite. I never want to call them least favorites. At first, I thought the gods and goddesses were kind of wonky. When I first read the story, I wasn't a huge fan of the way it ended, just because I felt like it came out of left field. After I reread it, I kind of have a different appreciation for it. There probably could have been more mentions of gods and goddesses from the beginning, I guess. There was plenty, but I guess I felt like the way that it was incorporated felt weird. However, I think that even though it was unexpected, it was very well executed. It wasn't done in, like, out of left field in whatever happens, and it made no sense. Everything came back to the center. It all made sense in the end. And I thought also, which is kind of weird to say about mythology, I felt like that was in character as well. The way that the gods and goddesses interacted, as well as their feelings towards humanity in general. And this, I'm jumping around again. This isn't a least favorite part. This is just something that I thought was really, really interesting. And one of the things that Macbetha mentioned in particular was that the whole idea of the mermaids being driven out of the water because of humans, and Black Sand is the organization it's called, because they're being discovered. It also really reflected on pollution and the destruction of coral reefs, things like that. She specifically mentioned that that was one of the more political statements that she wanted to make through this writing, as well as symbolism for coming out. You know, you have to hide who you are in order to not be hurt, or other people are going to exploit you. I just thought both of those things were really, really cool. I really like it when authors put in secondary themes that reflect on the political atmosphere of the world today. And these are both things that are very much relevant to today. So my closing thoughts. I most definitely recommend this story to anyone who likes the Mermaid AU. Am I going to say this? I think I'm going to say this. This is probably my favorite Mermaid AU that I have read, and I have read a lot of them, mostly free, but now that I'm thinking about it, I've read a lot of Voltron Mermaid AU, and I'm not sure why. I don't know what the connection is between robotic space cats and mermaids, but I will say that if you do decide to read this story, you probably need to have just a little bit of an appreciation for mythology, specifically Greek mythology. If you are a fan of Percy Jackson, you will probably really like this story. And of course, if you like Mermaid AUs, you will also really like this story. It's just so well done. And one of the last things I wanted to mention, Macbetha, you can find her on AO3. Go give her some love. And you can also find her, there's a Babbit. The Babbit is back again. But you can find Macbetha on AO3 as well as on Tumblr by the same name. Go give her some love and check out her other stories. She specifically mentioned that she is actually rewriting Coral and Bone as an independent work, and it's going to be called You Cannot Drown the Sea, which both of these titles are just Coral and Bone, You Cannot Drown the Sea. Both of those are such bad titles. I love them. But it's not complete yet, but she is going to be working on that, so I am personally very excited to read that once it comes out. I'll be keeping tabs on that. And I think that's it for this week. Let me know what you thought about this video. Give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and definitely let me know in the comments down below what you thought. Have you read the story? Are you going to read this story? What is your favorite Mermaid AU? If you have read a multitude of them, like I have. And next week, I'm going to be joined by my best friend, Ren, and we are going to be going over the basics of yaoi manga, so look forward to that. I'll see you then. Bye, guys.